What is up? Welcome. This is Turkey Eve. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody out there. Those of you guys that have been watching Truth and Transparency and have been following the Drake Moore case. I try to do a show on the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, and I make it usually a case that is extra special to my dear heart that goes pitter patter. And so tonight's episode is the mock preview of the opening statements by both Jennifer Drake's attorneys and then by the Moore's attorneys. So that's what you guys are in store for tonight. So again, hello. What's good? Let's start off by gobble gobble, wrapping gifts, I don't know, dancing to something, drinking something. So we're going to start off though here's a little intro before I get into the plaintiff will go first. So Peter Erblin, played by Lana Oriani, and then Dana Bose and counsel played by Lana Oriani. But first, grab something. What is up, Johnny Lunchbucket? Deserve this.
Hi, Kate. Look, my husband is actually driving.
What's
First time he's been
kiddos?
driving in a week. Total praise the Lord. Go up and all the way around. He got cleared today from the spinal surgeon that he can ease back into work tomorrow. So I just thought I wanted to let you know. So thank you for prayers. It's like total miracle from last Tuesday, Wednesday. The fact that he's still got a few problems, but we're dealing with them, and he is
I'm actually able to function.
Better. Yeah, he's able to actually function without pain. So thank you for praying. Loved seeing the Instapot, and I want that recipe. Tell me if it turned out good.
Yeah, whatever that was, it
did look like something you get off of Instagram. So let us know what that recipe is. Brian's headed up. We're actually headed back up to Bonners Ferry tonight because he left his car there and it's been there for a week. And so he needs to get around. So we just wanted to say we love you and thank you for prayers.
Love you guys.
All right. Bye.
Welcome. Come on in, guys. Lana's opening statements. Let's see what she's got. Let's see if she's any good. I gotta be fair. I'm rubbing both sides. What? All right.
There's just a gunshot over, like, right over in this vicinity.
Okay.
And then there was a guy that ran, come here, from the edge of this building
Okay.
out, and he went up the street.
Okay.
And my husband yelled at him. He's like, "Hey, was that you?" And he just started taking off.
Okay.
So he tried to.
So there was a shot over here somewhere.
Yeah, like over here. And then he ran from like the edge of this building, the window building,
Okay.
and took up off that street where the cops got.
All right. Nobody here though, right?
No.
You're fine here?
We're fine.
Okay, go lock yourself up there.
Come here.
Spit and slap, baby. Spit and slap.
Copy. I'm gonna get out on foot and just checking behind these buildings in case anybody's down.
Is there any casings in here?
We haven't really looked around yet on anything.
The bullet came from the outside.
Yeah, we saw that. So he looks. It's so weird. Like I don't. So, what time did you get home today? Did you do work today or were you off?
I did work today.
Okay, what time did you get home?
3:47, roughly.
Did you guys all together as a family at
Yeah.
that point? Home the rest of the evening?
Yes.
Okay. And anything to drink tonight?
No.
Okay. Good shit. Then you're a step ahead of me, so you're doing good. All right, and so you're home. What time do you guys have dinner?
I'm supposed to be eating right now.
We're doing a little
Yeah.
late. All right. What's your
Burgers.
burger? What is it? What'd you hear?
Okay, so I was outside putting new plates on her car. She just got the car, and I heard the gunshot roughly. I don't know time. Roughly about 7:30, probably.
You were outside the time.
I was outside. Yeah, and I heard the gunshot, and it sounded like it came from directly back here. And then this building on the other side of this one has a little grass wave past the picnic table there, and I saw someone come running out from there, from behind that building, and he kind of kept close to this brick building up here where the window repair shop is.
Yeah.
He was kind of like trying to stay close to the building, almost it seemed like as if he was hiding. And at this point, my fiance came outside to make sure I was okay, because she heard gunshots too. And like that's something when you hear, you just kind of know the sound of it. And so she came outside, and I told her to bring the dogs out. She let the dogs out, and I put them in my car, and I had yelled at this guy. I said, "Hey," and he looked back and just kind of like ignored me, and I was like, "Was that you?" And he looked back and took off, and it looked like he was kind of going over towards somewhere over there, off that corner, like one of the streets over there.
Are we on this side of the highway or that side?
Oh, sorry, we're on this side. I'm just trying
very
to
good.
reach it. But it was somewhere towards
The
like,
date
the
is March
pediatrics
12,
building.
2020.
And
right
I drove my
now,
car back in that
22
neighborhood
or
trying
21,
to
23
get a
hours.
picture or whatever I could for you guys if I could find him.
Okay.
And I didn't see anything. And then I went and called the cops on my way home from driving through the
So
neighborhood.
when you had called, by the time you called in, who'd you call? The 911?
Yeah. By the time I called in, I was in this back, the alleyway on the 3rd Street.
So
up from
several
where we
minutes
are.
had passed by that point.
A couple minutes out, yeah.
So now, what's your name? Okay, just clear your mind for a second. All right. So you hear the gunshot, you walk around, you see the guy working his way through the grass next to the building, right? Looks back at you. Picture that for a moment. Close your eyes again. You really think about it. What did you see?
I already know. I feel like I know the face, but I don't want to say it because if I'm wrong, I'm like,
It's okay.
I don't know if you've been to the Liberty up here, but there's this short kind of Arabic-looking dude that works there. He always says, "Hey, buddy," to me. It kind of looked a lot like about the same height, looked roughly the same age.
Okay, so kind of thin, fat. What do you think?
It's probably about my height. He's a little bit bulkier than me, not muscle, but he has some more fat than I do.
Okay.
A little chunky, and I don't really know how to describe him.
Okay,
He's
let's
got a
start down the bottom.
little
Start down the bottom.
mustache,
Let's start
maybe.
down the bottom. What do you remember about his feet?
where he was wearing black sweatpants and black hoodie. I think he had a gray vest on. Maybe it was the light was reflecting, but I remember seeing a vest. And he had a beanie on, for sure.
And then he looked at you. What did you see in the face?
It's hard to question, especially when you don't get past this. What did I see in the face? Like his facial expression. Oh, I saw stress in his face for sure. That's part of the reason I called him.
The skin.
The jury is gonna see this video. The jury is gonna see that Isaac Funderburg literally says everything right here. The jury is gonna hear this. Black top, black bottoms, gray vest, black beanie, facial hair, dark complected. That is the man I saw running from Dr. Drake's building after I heard the gunshots. This is the video that the jury's going to see. This video is taken at 6:17 p.m. the night of Dr. Drake's murder. The woman taking the video is Eldora Gatchell. Eldora Gatchell is a patient of Dr. Drake's. Playing the ukulele is Eldora Gatchell's brother, Caleb Kakoa Nazara.
Hi, Sergeant.
Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
Good. I'm doing good. Do you have any good news?
Not yet. We're following up a lot of leads, but so far they're not going anywhere.
Shoot.
You probably are busy with family in town.
Yeah. But I'm not too busy for you.
Well, I have about 10 questions that have come up that we'd like you to answer if you could.
Sure.
Number one, were you able to find any more new patient forms in the Hayden office, or have you even had a chance to look?
Sergeant, I'm so sorry I have not had a chance to look. Today has been a nightmare because we cannot find anybody who will let us do a funeral.
I totally understand.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, so we are dealing with a nightmare on top of a nightmare.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Could we go look ourselves?
Do you need them? If you need them, I can leave right now and I can try to go see if there's any in his other office. I can leave here in like 5 minutes. Are you at the office right here?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Oh.
Then yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're trying to identify some of the patients, and we're unable to do so, partly because it's hard for me to decipher Brian's handwriting in pencil, especially when it gets to their last names.
Are they Sandpoint or Bonners Ferry patients?
Bonners Ferry.
Oh, okay. And that's not something you're allowed to show Lowell Graber, are you?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. You think he would know?
He would know a lot of those names because he lives there and knows a lot of the people.
Okay.
Him and Ed Byler. But I will still go look for these forms.
Okay, and then that brings me to another question. We would like to look at the offices he had both here and at Sandpoint to sort of get an idea if someone was targeting him. Did they pick the Bonners Ferry office because that was the easiest one for them to get away versus the other two offices?
Gotcha. So the Sandpoint one, he had just moved out of because they had decided to renovate the whole basement that he and whoever else was renting.
Yep.
It's not the basement; it was a medical clinic, and they decided to renovate it and sell it and rent it to a whole big group. So they asked him, it was during the holidays, whoever was renting, they just told them they weren't going to be able to rent anymore. And so since the first of the year, he rented a small little tiny office in Sandpoint. It was just part of a real estate place or an insurance place. And I, on the way back from seeing you guys, just picked up his stuff. There was literally a desk in there, and I just picked up all it had was like a lamp, a stool, a chair.
Sure.
So there's nothing left there, but I can give you the address and you can go by.
That would be great. We just kind of want to do a sort of a site inspection.
Oh, sure. Okay, I will text that to you as soon as I get off.
Okay, and then same with the one here in Hayden.
Yes.
Can we meet you there now?
Sure.
Okay, what's that address?
Yeah. It's, I don't know the address, but it's right here on Prairie, and it's Foundation Fitness. It says We Care. They changed their name just recently. So the sign says, you know where Dr. Dance Studio or Dr. Dance Dentistry is? Right there next to Windermere?
Right across the street from ITD?
Across the street from the veterinarian's office?
From where?
From the veterinarian's office there on Prairie?
Yes. So there's a long driveway right behind Dr. Dance Dentistry, and that driveway leads up into Foundation Fitness.
Okay.
And I'm almost positive that key is on, and I think they're probably, it's a Monday, they're probably open unless they've shut it down due to this stupid coronavirus. So if you'll give me about 10 minutes, I will go say goodbye to these guests that are here, and I will run right down there and open that for you.
Jennifer, if you'd rather do this tomorrow, that's fine.
Yes, we can do it tomorrow.
You know what? I think tomorrow is going to probably be even worse. We've got more people flying in.
Okay.
So right now is actually the best time, so I don't mind going down right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So a few more questions. I can either ask you now or I can ask you when I see you in a little bit.
Oh, you can go ahead now.
Okay. Where did Brian sleep in Bonners Ferry? Did he have an apartment or a room or something like that?
Nope, he slept right there in the living room. That's a pull-out bed.
Okay.
So he just stayed there unless he would come home.
Did he ever have a room or an apartment in Bonners Ferry?
Well, probably like the first month he was there, he would go to a hotel.
Okay.
But he was like, the first maybe month or so, and then just realized it wasn't worth it because he was going to be there on a regular basis if he brought that in.
Okay. Did Brian or you own any firearms?
We own some here. We do not have any up there.
Do you have any small caliber pistols?
We do.
Are they all accounted for?
Oh, yes. Well, I haven't checked them. I should check them. I will check.
If you could,
I haven't looked.
If you could do that, and then just make a list for me of what you have or what he has.
Okay. I will do that.
Let's see. One of the guys we talked to up north said that we should talk to one of Brian's friends who was a restaurateur back in New Orleans, who maybe you guys had vacationed with.
Yes.
Do you know who?
Bubba?
Do you know who they're talking about?
Yes, it's Craig Fant. But why did he say to ask about him?
Just he thought that he might be someone who might have knowledge of something that was going on with your husband.
He actually is flying in tomorrow. So he can definitely talk to you. He is a very close friend. He's going to be one of the pallbearers. And so, yeah, you can absolutely talk to him. I don't think he's been talking to me like 3 times a day, just making sure, because he's coming in with all of Brian's buddies. I know that he would be more than willing to sit down with you or call you, either way.
Okay, Craig Fant?
Yeah, Fant, F-A-N-T.
F-A-N-T, okay.
And it's just a friend of his.
Okay, and did you or did Brian have any issues with debt? Did he or you guys owe anybody money that might be wanting to come to collect that money?
No, we are literally, the only thing we owe on is our house and our cars.
Okay.
And his school loans, but we don't owe anybody, like any personal anything.
Okay. And addresses of the other offices, you're gonna give me that later. Okay, here's a couple of other questions sort of that we didn't really go down, but has there been anyone who has expressed a romantic interest in you, or wanting to date you or see you that you have put off or rebuffed that might be upset about that?
No. Nobody. I know it sounds ridiculous, but everybody we know just knows that we just really, really love each other. There's like no desire, and I don't know anybody. Nobody's made any advancement towards me that I am aware of in any way.
What we heard from a couple of people up north that Brian had seen some female clients that were sort of coming on to him to the point where he decided he didn't want to see them anymore. He didn't want to see them as customers anymore. Do you know about that?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not, but you know what? That's what Kip said in that text to me. Remember that? He goes, I know this sounds crazy, but maybe you should think about your husband's, his exact words were, your husband is a good-looking, charismatic man. Maybe there was a woman that came on to him and he declined her and it made her mad.
Well, there was a couple of, it was the massage lady.
Emma Fields?
Emma, yes.
Yeah, she's the one that sort of expressed that she didn't have any particular direct knowledge of like names or when this had happened. Just it was sort of in general, she'd heard from Brian that there had been clients in the past that kind of pushed the boundaries to the point where he said, I don't really feel comfortable treating you anymore. And
oh, wow. I did not know that.
I wonder who those people might be.
I don't know,
okay.
But you really need those cards because it would tell you at least his female patients and the ages and stuff.
So just to be clear, he never brought this up to you. This is the first you've heard about female patients coming on to him.
He has never, ever told me that.
Okay.
And maybe he did it because he didn't want me to worry. I don't know.
To be honest with you, in our line of work, we occasionally get ladies that will make overtures toward us, and I can tell you I generally do not tell my wife that. That would just make her uncomfortable, so.
Oh, stop it, Van Niven.
So that makes sense.
Fucking disgusting.
Never happens to me.
Gary says it never happens to him. That's all we got. That's all I got for you so far. So, hang on.
So
I'm sorry.
How about this? Give me a little longer than 10 minutes so I can go up and check through our guns,
Sure.
and make sure that I've got them, and I'll list them for you, and I'll bring you I'll just bring you the list, and then if you're more interested, and then I also give me a few minutes because I'm going to see if I can find the file box here that he had full of those that might have the files you're talking about too.
And after I heard that he'd been shot, I called Jennifer, his wife, and I said, Jen, is this really what's happening? And she said yes, and she said she was talking on the phone with him. He had just watched his last client drive away, and he said, I'm just packing up my stuff and ready to walk out the door. I'll see you in a few minutes. And then she heard the gunshots, and he said, oh my God, I've been shot. And she was talking to him, and then she said she heard him hit the floor and he wasn't answering, so she called the police and told them. And she said it sounded like they didn't really believe her, but they said, we'll go investigate. And then they hung up, and she called her mom and dad, and they immediately came to be with her. But I know that, why can't I think of his name? Stress.
Another chiropractor?
The chiropractor he was working for in Post Falls. Crawford, thank you. Crawford, he left there because of some unethical practices that was going on, a lot of alcohol on Crawford's part, and Jennifer was with him when he met with Crawford about leaving and opening a shop up here. Crawford tried to take him to court, was very angry at him, taking away his patients, cutting him under his patients, and that wasn't so. Brian didn't bring any of his patients with him. He started all fresh up here in Sandpoint. But once people went to Brian, it was such a, in their words, a more thorough and better treatment. They didn't bother driving all the way to Post Falls. So then after Brian got established up here, Crawford and Elliott, Scott Elliott and Scott Crawford, they came up to Sandpoint and opened up a place where they would come twice a month to Sandpoint and twice a month to Bonners Ferry. But a lot of the people quit going there because they would get them in. It was like herding cattle through, they said. And so that made Crawford very angry, and he told Brian, this is what Brian told me, he said that he got very angry at him and said, one day you'll pay for this. And so last summer when I was talking to Brian Drake, something had happened, and that Crawford and Elliott no longer had enough patience to come here, and he stopped and talked to him, according to Brian Drake, that he said, you will pay for this, and left, very angry.
And that was last summer?
Yes. And so that, I know Jennifer knows all of that, and even more. I know Brian didn't discuss with me near what he would discuss with his wife, but because I was the healthcare professional that often referred clients and patients to him and him back to me and stuff, often it would get on the private end of what he was having to deal with Crawford and Elliott, especially with Crawford. And I do know that Crawford has been having a lot more trouble with alcohol, is getting to be quite a problem for him. And so when this happened, I just thought, well, who else? Who else? Right. I don't think Crawford would do it, but I know that he has in the past got other people to do dirty work. And that was one of the reasons Brian left. And so I thought, well, who else would do such a thing to him?
Everybody in. Everybody in. It's here. Hold it in.
It's Monday, March 16th, 2020.
Keep going. No, get in.
At 2:26 p.m. We're here in the Idaho State Police District 1 conference room. This is Detective Sergeant Van Leuven, and with me is Detective Tollison. And if you could each introduce yourselves and state your full names.
Jennifer Lynn Drake.
Cynthia Miller.
My name is Jonathan Drake.
And Cynthia, what's your relationship to the family?
Mother to Jennifer Drake.
Okay. And Jonathan, what's your relationship?
I'm the brother of Brian Drake.
Okay. And also is Intel analyst Ryan Lohmiller. Okay, so we're here as an initial interview to talk to you about your husband who was the victim of a homicide on Thursday of last week up in Bonners Ferry, Idaho. He was a chiropractor by trade.
Yes.
Could you talk to us about how long he'd been a chiropractor?
He graduated from chiropractic school in 2012, and immediately went into practice down in Austin, Texas. He graduated in Dallas at Parker College of Chiropractic, and then went and worked for somebody in Austin for just a couple years. And then he actually started his own business until, 2002. We moved in 2012. So from 2002 to 2012, we were in Texas with that business. We moved here
So you said he worked in Austin for a couple of years?
for that whole time.
From 2000 to 2002?
2002 to 2012, we were in.
So 8 years?
Yes. 10 years.
10 years.
Great. Okay.
And then we moved here in June of 2012. And he immediately started working for Dr. Scott Crawford, who is in Post Falls. And he has another partner, Scott.
Of guessing. And now I really feel like I need to set you guys straight. There is no more dancing around this. I am literally sitting here doing my taxes, but I realized, okay, see, here we are. But I realized that I can't do this with this behind me. So I'm gonna take a break. I find a lot of comfort and consolation in the fact that Amy thinks that I'm a superwoman, and that you do think that I go through so many things so well. Even though, like she said, I'm on here and I'm about to actually spread some stress to my sweet sister, Laura, but it's not, because I get to tell you about the story of redemption here. So if you guys are busy, you need to just go ahead and bypass this. I'll try not to make it long, but I do feel like I need to tell you the details, because this is not an easy or small little, anyways. So this last fall into winter, there was a season where I don't think I was on here for like, I don't know, a long time. And it was because we were in a season. And how it started is that Brenner came into our room one night. It's always, the times that we always talk are always the times, you guys know how this goes, it's bedtime. And somehow, one by one, they conglomerate onto our bed, and we get into these deep discussions. And as a parent, you want those discussions, so you don't want to send them to bed, and yet there's that fine line of going, okay, seriously, it's bedtime. And now they kind of, they dance around it, so you have to say it 5 times because you love that time with them, but they kind of feed off of each other. And I'm like, there are times you're like, okay, do I really, these are really, we have great biblical discussions at that time of night. And so then they end up so tired in the morning, and they should be getting their rest, because that's how they grow. As Amy says, by the way, I just wanted to let you know, I loved that. I'm going to have, if you're okay with it, I'm going to have Brian listen to that, Marco, because that was really good information. I cannot believe they actually have a teething ring that actually measures the size of a child's penis. I can so imagine. I can so imagine. And then I did want to get on here, Laura, if you're actually listening. I should just get on to another one so you don't have to listen to it all this. But I am so praying. When my thing went off this morning, I'm praying for you, Laura. Here's my biggest prayer, is that even though you're in Montana and you're with your friend, or you're with Kenai and with the aunt, I'm actually praying that this is a really good time of rest and relaxation, because Kenai is your sole focus for a week. I think you actually said you're there for a week. So you literally have the aunt and Kenai. And this lady you get to speak into, I'm praying, maybe this is the whole reason you have Kenai, is to lead this lady to the Lord. Seriously. And hopefully you're going to get some good rest and relaxation there, because you have another woman's help who's hopefully making meals. You don't have your whole family to speak into and to feed and to, just deal with. And that maybe this will help you. It does make me worry a little bit, because I have that adrenal fatigue and I totally get cold sores. And so if you've been like that cautionary tale for me as I'm listening to you going, oh my goodness, I could be there. And, just all of us trying to figure out what it is that works with our health. Let's go full circle. I do this way too much. I know tangents. Focus. Here's what happened. Months ago. I'm now mad that I didn't journal and I didn't write about this, because I think that...
What?
If I were to go back and see, I mean, I can see in my brain how the Lord just did work through this, but still, I told you already this, that yeah. The importance of journaling. So I have my kids now have started journaling every single night. It's mandatory for 10 minutes. See, I went on another tangent. All because I think this is important. It's part of, okay, back. I am so sorry, you guys. Oh, my brain. I think it's like I don't even want to go there. So my family doesn't know any of this. My mom and dad know a little bit that when it first started, but then we didn't go into anything after that. And I don't even know why. I know why. It's because I haven't with you guys. It's just because it was deep. I didn't really want input. We prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed through this. And we didn't want to deal with everybody else's opinions because we really wanted to deal with this as a family. And I don't know that even Asher, I think Asher knows a little bit because we really did have a talk about all this. But at one point, Brenner came into us and said, I need you to know, and he kind of started crying a little bit, and he goes, I need you to know I'm struggling. He said, and the great news is that he came to us out of the blue, and it was last fall. School had already started, trying to think of the details here. And he had come to us and said, I needed to let you know that I vaped. I was at work. There's a lot of young adults that vape and they go on their breaks. And he goes, they kept asking me and I would say no. And he's like, at one point I decided to vape. And so he said, I've actually been vaping off and on while at work. Here we are thinking this is such a great workplace. And he said, I feel horrible. I'm really sorry. And I just felt like I felt so convicted and I needed to come to you, et cetera, et cetera. And so, I got a little teary, but we had a really good discussion. And at the time he was like, I think I want to quit. And I said, well, let Brian and I think about that and pray through this. But how do you feel now that you've confronted this? And we asked him, was it peer pressure? Is it curiosity? Is it what was all this?
None of this is true.
And he had only done it a couple times. And I remember Brian going, you're going to face this in life. And if you feel like you're strong enough, I'd like you to consider staying at this job. And when we made that decision, you're going through things for the first time and you just don't know what the wisdom is. We prayed about it. And I noticed that he was still just hesitant to going to work. He used to love going to work. He used to just be so excited. And there was really, that was just gone. And fast forward a month or two, because this was before the holidays, it was I think it was between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So this added to everything because, of course, we're going through traditions. We're going through so much. And I just remember it was during a time that talk about adrenal fatigue. That's probably would have been my time. But at one point, Brian was gone. And what? I don't remember how this is why I wish I would journal, because I don't remember how this actually came up.
Oh, God.
But at some point, Brenner came in to me. I'd asked him a question, and he came in, and I'm by myself.
Okay, you're by yourself.
I don't remember why I was down in the kitchen. I just remember maybe he told me up in my bedroom.
My bedroom. It wouldn't be your bedroom.
He ended up telling me
everything is just Jennifer's.
He had started vaping again.
What?
But this time, somebody had put something in it.
Oh, fuck!
And he came home so sick. He's like, Mom, I thought I was going to die. And as he's telling me this, I struggle with this more than anything anyways, because I know my brother. And, he started with marijuana at the age of 15. And Brenner's 15 during this time. He just turned 16 in February. And he said, somebody put something in it. I think it was the HTC, whatever that stuff is with marijuana. And he said, I came home and I went straight to bed and I just was so sick and it scared me. And part of me is mortified. You know how if you were dealing with this, a million things are going through my brain. Like, the first time I'm thinking, how do I not know this? And I'm even asking him this. I'm like, how did I not know? How did I not see this? Now, it only happened once that he ended up, where they put something in it. He ended up really, really sick. And for some reason, I just remember he told me some of it down in the kitchen. And at some point, I looked at him, he's like this far, and I just went to give him a hug, and he just kind of fell on me, and we sobbed and sobbed and sobbed in the kitchen. It was just him and I just hugging and sobbing, and he just like, he wouldn't let go. And I was mortified. I was horrified. I was mad. I was so mad at his boss, who we know. I was so mad at these punks who are all young adults. And here's a 15-year-old that somebody has preyed on. And he told him no several times. And he's like, every time I go on a break, that's what they're doing. I'm like, can't you go somewhere else with somebody who's not?
This is not even true.
Anyways, long story short, we really prayed and prayed about it.
This is
and
not
here's what
even
happened.
true.
Here's the long story of it. Is that he actually asked one of them, before he got really sick.
She didn't even
The
cry
bigger
about
story
Brian.
is he had asked one of them to go buy him one. He ended up with his own vapor. We have an open door policy in our house.
Vapor?
Their doors are
I'm
never
dead.
to be closed
Hold on.
unless they're getting
Did
dressed
she just say
really quickly.
vapor?
There's no reason there's no reason why we ever made that. They just know.
She just said vapor? Wait, no.
We really prayed and prayed about it. And here's what happened. Here's the long story of it. Is that he actually asked one of them, before he got really sick. The bigger story is he had asked one of them to go buy him one. He ended up with his own vapor. We have an open door policy in our house. Their doors are never to be closed unless they're getting dressed really quickly. There's no reason there's no reason why we ever made that. They just know there's an open door policy, period. They don't close their doors. And he would vape at night after we would pray with them, complete dark. And vaping now has it in things to where you can't smell it. There is no smell. It's not like smoking. You can't smell anything. And so at one point, he was vaping, and I guess Hudson walked in on him. And this is when we didn't know this was happening. And the fact that he even brought it into this house. And so we're clueless. Hudson walks in on him, says, dude, what are you doing? Is that what I think it is? So Hudson finds out. He's like, get rid of it. Get rid of it. He's like, I will. I totally will. This was before the time that he got really sick. This is all coming out to me, though, after he and I are bawling in the kitchen. We sit down, we pray, we talk through it. We just had a really, really good time connecting and talking through it all. But what he's telling me this story, because then I pulled Hudson in. Because Hudson Brenner's telling me I said, how did this all happen? Tell me everything that's led up to this. How did we get here? And so it wasn't just that he started vaping there, then he quit. But then he started again. Asked somebody to buy him one, because when he was telling me he had his own, I'm like, how in the world did you do that? How did you buy that? He has a card, but we know where he goes all the time. We have 360 on his phone. Boom! He never goes to stores unless it's to get gas. And even at that time, he was literally just going there and back. Oh, that was the time. Actually, I don't even know that he was driving. I think I was still taking him because it was dark at night and stuff. Anyway, the whole thing was that I couldn't fathom how he was getting it. He was like, yes, I asked one of them and they went ahead and got me one. So I'm so mad about this. And I'm trying in everything not to be mad. I am trying to I am keeping my cool. I'm like asking questions. Tell me about this. This is after all of this, and I kind of fall apart. And they know the story of Andrew. They know Andrew's story. And this is not out of ignorance, because we've talked about drugs so many times. We've talked about, what do you do when this happens, et cetera, et cetera. What do you do when somebody offers it to you? Even the first time he had told us, what do you do? How do you be proactive about this rather than being in a place of peer pressure? And Brenner's always been our kid that, like how he just taught, he's got so much biblical knowledge. He loves Jesus with all his heart. This is like something that is the farthest thing that we could have ever thought. So Hudson comes in, he's like, dude, get rid of it. He's like, I will, I totally will. Well, I don't know if it was the same day or the next day, Brenner was gone. He was somewhere in the house. I don't know. And the reason I know this was probably around November is because, October, November, because we were late in getting all of our leaves up, and we were raking leaves, and we had tons of bags of leaves outside, and half of them were open because we weren't done with them. Well, Hudson, behind Brenner's back, went into his room, dug through his stuff, grabbed his vaping thing and all of his drugs, and took them downstairs and hid them in a big bag of leaves and just walked on. Mind you, this had happened months before we knew anything, right? Literally, sweet little Hudson says nothing. He goes and hides it. And Brian gathers up all the leaves, clueless.
Not
gathers
possible.
up.
Brian
gathers up
had
all the
back
bags,
surgery,
ties them all up, sticks them in a truck, takes them off to the dump.
Liar.
We're still clueless.
You're a
and even now, as
liar.
I'm telling you this story, this is the first time I've actually relayed this story again. Somehow he ends up with another one, and I don't realize why, because I know Hudson threw one away with his drugs. Well, at the time, I still don't know anything about this. So he goes to work. Apparently, he must have gotten another one, gets some more, and he comes home. Anyways, at some point within that story is when he feels so convicted, and he tells me this.
So somewhere within that story, that's exactly right, Jen. These are all stories. Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Happy Thanksgiving Eve, guys. We got the countdown. It is 10:59, and literally at midnight, all of our shopping carts can be full of all of our Black Friday deals, and we can just start setting, and we can just get all of those Craigslists and all those Facebook Marketplace, because we are going to be doing what Jen does, and she buys everything off of Craigslist and everything off Facebook Marketplace right at midnight. All of those people are going to be giving half off, like Michael Jackson's pants, man. Half off. Wait, what?
He's like, I will never, ever forget this. And this is now part of his story. He goes behind Ross, and he sits there, and he's like praying. He's like, God, I have to get rid of this. This is horrible. I'm becoming addicted. This was after he had the big scare, and he still hadn't told me. And he was sitting there, and this pull of, I need to get rid of this. So behind Ross has a big dumpster, and he's standing there outside the car, and he knows he's going to get rid of it. And he's like, but there's this pull in me, like, no, keep it. You've paid for it. No, I should throw it away. And he goes, all of a sudden, this truck comes up, and it's an older man, and he goes to get out of his truck. And he says, I was like all of a sudden scared and worried because I'm standing there by myself. And he's like, so I immediately just threw it in the dumpster, got in the car, and drove off. And he's like, and as I'm driving off, I'm like, thank you, Lord, thank you, Lord, thank you, Lord. He's like, I'm done. Well, this is when he comes home because he's so convicted, and he comes and tells me. And I'm home by myself. Brian is gone. And it's, again, all these layers, because then
Brian's
I'm mad
always
because
gone.
Brian's gone. Because we still haven't figured out how to get him home to where he's home while my boys are dealing with these things. And I don't want to be the only person that's dealing with this. I mean, I know that Brian's home the next day and the next night, but I actually texted him and I said,
no, you didn't.
You have to come home tonight. I said, I know you're an hour, 45 minutes away. You've got to go back up tomorrow. I need you home tonight. You have to come home tonight. We have to deal with some things together. So after Brenner and I have these issues, he tells me he finally gets rid of it. And finally, that's when I was like, I am so sorry that we made you go back to work. You obviously weren't ready. There was no foundation there. And Brian and I, even when we were praying with Brenner, which we did, you know, like many nights in a row, just talking through this and praying over it and crying over it. And we pulled Hudson into it and said, Hudson, tell me, did you know that he was vaping?
Cheers, Colleen. Woo! Thank you so much. Cash App, baby. Shaking it for Jen Drake, baby. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Woo!
Well, then Hudson tells us the story of what he did. Brenner didn't even know that Hudson had gone in and got his vaping stuff and gone and put it. He actually went in, took his stuff and got rid of it and never said a word to a soul. Walked out and went on with his life. So we're sitting there telling Hudson, because Hudson's telling us the story after Brenner is telling us all that happened. And we're like, Brenner told us that you knew he was doing this, that you saw him. Well, yeah, I did. This is what I did. And he tells us, I'm like floored, because here's my son who I used to be more worried about than Brenner, because Brenner is a little more, wears his Christianity on his sleeve. Whereas Hudson's a lot more reserved. He's the music. He will sing from the top of his lungs because he loves his worship music. But he's more reserved. He's more not hungering like Brenner does when it comes to even biblical stuff. He's just the more subdued. And so here's this kid who, even since then, has done several things that I've seen him do that I'm like, he's the kid who doesn't care about peer pressure. He's like, you're an idiot. Not to Brenner, but, you know, to people who are like, offer him something. Something else happened about a month ago, and he looks at this whole group of basketball people, and he's going, you're idiots. Like, he was so mad because they did something horrendous. And he's telling me as he's walking out, and he's so mad. And I'm like, this kid who I was worried about is the one who's, Brenner more cares about the peer pressure and the curiosity, whereas Hudson, he's like me, to where, no, I have no desire to smoke a cigarette. I have no desire to do drugs. That's never been my issue. I've never had a temptation. You know what I'm talking about. Some people, it's this curiosity, this temptation. Some of the rest of us, I think that's how, like, some people are drawn to an addiction because that's harder for them. And some people who are like, I have no desire. I have no problem. Like, I really actually can't fathom the part of addictions for people. For me, it's just a black and white. You just don't do it. Like, I have a sugar addiction, but even then, you know, if you're like, okay, I'm going off sugar for a month, you do it. You just go off of it for a month. It's hard, but yeah, I still can't fathom an addiction. To me, it's stupid. Well, it's a mind thing. Here's the difference between my two boys. Like, we learned so much about him. So as he's telling me these things, I'm looking at him going, I love you. I am so proud of you for sticking up for your brother and for protecting him, for standing up to him. But next time, you better come in and tell us. This is your place, part of that protection.
So what did you think about your husband's porn addiction, sexual addiction, you know, need to have sex, all of them titties in my face addiction, the sexual eruption? What? So you don't believe in addictions, you don't believe in anything because, like, you just, like, don't do it. So therefore, you don't then believe that your husband had an addiction, but yet you go and get his family to have an intervention? Get the fuck out of here! Come on, Jen. You just talking in mad-ass circles on my Thanksgiving Eve, girl. It's okay, baby. I'm here for it. Woo! Happy Thanksgiving, Jen. Love you, baby girl. We got all the Jens showing up tonight.
Is you learning that part of loving him is you coming to authority or coming to your parents and you saying, here's what's happening, because it could have gone so much worse. And then Brian and I both praying and feeling convicted and horrible in the fact that, okay, we didn't have the wisdom. And here we are thinking, like, this is the discussion we had. I'm like, I'm literally in tears as Brian and I are talking about this just together. And I'm like, I have done so much protect my kids from movies and from music and from friends and from, like, we are so serious about making sure that the Satan does not come through our floorboards. And then we're like, go back to work. Go to that place and be strong.
Get it?
What was I thinking?
What was I thinking? Satan is within us. What was I thinking?
So proud of you for sticking up for your brother and for protecting him, for standing up to him. But next time, you better
come in and tell us. This is your place. Part of that protection is you learning that part of loving him is you coming to authority or coming to your parents and you saying, here's what's happening, because it could have gone so much worse. And then Brian and I both praying and feeling convicted and horrible in the fact that, okay, we didn't have the wisdom. And here we are thinking, like, this is the discussion we had. I'm like, I'm literally in tears as Brian and I are talking about this just together. And I'm like, I have done so much to protect my kids from movies and from music and from friends and from, like, we are so serious about making sure that the Satan does not come through our floorboards. And then we're like, go back to work. Go to that place and be strong. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? To even put him in that place before he's ready. And then we come full circle to go, at the time, probably a month into it, God, thank you so much for letting this happen while we got to speak into him. For letting us being able to rally together. And even, I know you guys laugh, like, Amy, it's never too late. But our Sundays have become so precious that even our kids, on Sunday, he had like 4 friends. They were like, we can't be at our home doing this. Can we come to yours? We're going to bring the PS4 and we want to come to your house and do it on Sunday. He's like, no, dude, I'm with my family. It's our family day. And we just have so much fun together. And it is important to him as a 16-year-old that he gets to stay home. But the reason that is because I think it's moments like that, the things that we go through and we go through as a family, we rally the wagons. It's like, let's get through.
We rally the wagons. I have never referred to spending time with my family as rallying the wagons. We rally the wagons? What the fuck does that even mean? On Sundays, it's the day for the Lord. And it's the day for family. That's all you say. What is all of this? Do you know that she used her phone and she pressed record and she just recorded all of this shit? And then she sent it to these church ladies that she claims that she's like sisters of the church with or some shit like that. Who the fuck would ever sit at home and watch all of this? I'm dead. I want to know who sat at home and watched this when it came through and didn't call 911 and send a wellness check over there. Have you lost your mind? How could you not turn this into the police? This is absurd. This was the day before her husband's murder, allegedly. You would have maybe thought, maybe I should turn this over to the police because this woman was on one. Can you imagine talking to your husband? Oh my God, can you believe that Brian Drake was shot in his office? Oh my God. I can't believe it. Jennifer, just the other day, I was talking to her. Well, I really wasn't talking to her. She sent me a long, Marco and was talking to me like, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think she was speeding out of control. She was talking about, you know what? I don't even know what she was talking about. The fuck?
Through this, let's pray through this. We come so much closer. And the fact that I kept going, God, thank you so much that he came to us. That it wasn't something we found. He came to us and he's like, I just feel so convicted and I can't do this anymore and I need your help. That was his whole thing. I need your help. So anyway, come full circle. So at that time we said, you need to quit. And Hudson had just started work. He had actually done 1 day of work at that place. All of a sudden, from the holidays on, they never called either of them in. And they were looking at the schedule and they had been called in for like 2 months because they were remodeling the whole place and almost shut down. So they needed like nobody from like January on. So Brian and I, over the last month and a half, 2 months since this has happened, I go, Brenner, Hudson were sitting in front of us, and I said, I think that as a family, we need to be praying that God gives you another job. And I want to pray that it's somebody from our church. There are so many business owners in our church that surely some of them need 1 or 2 boys. And somebody who can speak over you, speak into you, love on you, be a mentor to you. But if we're so active about who you're around, I want it to be somebody from the church. Let's pray about this. So we're praying, and about 2 weeks ago, I said to Brenner, maybe 3 weeks ago, I said, you need to get into Brett and you need to quit, because if you wait until they call you back in because the schedule starts getting busy, then you're going to have to give them 2 weeks.
No. And Nope. The text message actually from Jennifer to her son was that, no, God put you in certain places, so you're there and you can do it. And she didn't say you needed blah, blah. What a bunch of bullshit. Jennifer, this is not the, write your own ending books, like the choose your own ending of the adventure, whatever the fuck it is. None of this is true. You're just changing, you're trying to rewrite history to your friends about what? Then you're talking about this. None of this is true.
You need to sit down, you need to tell him why. And I said, I believe Hudson should go in with you, even though it didn't deal with Hudson. I think you should have a witness. I'm not going with you. I want you to do this yourself. You're 16. This is something you should do on your own. He said, I agree. He was very open to it. And I said, you need to tell him why. And he said, okay, I'll do that on Sunday. That was over a week. That was 2 weeks ago. And he's like, I'll do it this next Sunday. That week, we got a call from a good friend of ours who happens to be, there is Kid Island across from us. It's this property. It's 100 acres. He has this unbelievably fathomable house. He doesn't even hardly live in it except in the summers. His family comes to it. But he has a guy from our church that lives there year round and caretakes for this unbelievable property that is just insane. And every year he hires, or he gets 1 helper. The guy gives him a budget for 1 helper. And this was 2 weeks ago. So after I had said something to Brenner and Hudson and said, you need to go and quit and you need to do it together, la da da da. I want to say it was within a couple of days, we get this call, and he's a good friend of ours. And he's like, hey, I was wondering if Brenner has any desire, if he needs a job. And I was wondering if I could hire him to come out and help me for the summer. So of course I get a little emotional. He doesn't know any of this story, none of it.
No, you don't, Jen.
And then I said, is there any chance you need 2 boys? Because actually Hudson needs a job too. He's like, well, the big guy only gives me, and he pays $15 an hour. He's like, he only gives me authority to hire 1 person. But I know we're having a meeting within a week. And so if that changes, I'll let you know. So we kept praying. He calls me back last Sunday. And he said, I had my meeting with my boss, and I was like, hey, I have these 2 brothers, and they both actually need a job. They both want to work. One of them's a couple years younger, And he's like, my boss was like, fine, hire him. Because a big tree had just fallen on their house, and they had so much work that they needed to do. And so he calls me, he's like, does Brenner and Hudson want to work? I'm like, no way. He hired them both. Now he did change the pay. Brenner's getting 10. And Hudson's getting 9, which in minimum wage here is $7.25, and Hudson's starting at 9. So I'm like, dude, and listen to this. The only way to get to their house is by boat. So every Friday they get to work for him. He's oh my goodness, if you guys knew him, loves Jesus. Oh my goodness, loves Jesus. He is bringing people to the Lord all the time. We've known them now for several years. They have to take a speedboat across to the resort where Brenner and Hudson, so they started working for him on Friday. And he brings a speedboat over, gets them, takes them over. They work on the property, whether it's wood, whether it's combing the beach because the sand has to be combed, raked just the proper way, etc., etc. And then during lunchtime, he's like, all summer long is like, bring your lunch. You guys can go swimming off the dock. We've got a speedboat, 2 speedboats. If we ever want to take downtime, la da da da. I am telling you, this is the full circle. The full circle is the fact that the Lord just blessed them with an unbelievable job. They get to work together. They get to be outside on this property. He's working them just for Fridays for right now, because the other great thing is that they have weekends off, which at the resort they never did. They had to work weekends all the time. So they work Monday through Friday, which during the summer. So right now it's just Fridays because they only have school 4 days a week. And then once they're done with school, they get to work 5 days a week, have weekends off, which is great because that's when we go camping and do our things. And they get to be under this amazing, amazing man. And so they had so much fun. They were like, oh, we had such a great day. Now, of course, ask me again in 3 months whether or not that's still the case with them, because I think they're going to have to work hard. But they were like, oh my goodness, we worked so much harder just washing dishes and making the food. It wasn't all that hard. They really enjoyed that. But they're ecstatic. So we had to sit down and really show them, okay, do you see God's hand in all of this? The Lord has completely blessed you. And, we check in with Brenner often. How are you feeling? So here is the last little bit, and then I'll get off. So out of the blue, and I don't know, I still pray about this, going, Lord, was this really wisdom? But the head of the youth group asked Brenner if he would MC 3 weeks ago. Maybe 3 weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago. MC is you get up there at the beginning, right after worship or before worship, and you give just like a little devotional, something the Lord has talked to you about that week, something that you want to help inspire, share. Maybe it's just sharing a verse. And then of course that's when the MC brings up all we're going to do our tithes and offerings. Here's all of our announcements. Then goes into his little devotion before worship, and then they do the preaching. And so he gets up there, and I see this later on Facebook Live. He gets up there and he tells his testimony, and he literally tells everybody. So I started vaping, and I got addicted, and I hated it. And la-da-da-da-da, and I was leading 2 lives. Here's this Christian boy over here, and he's in the middle. I mean, he's in front of, 300 teenagers that are all, it's a big youth group. And he's telling a story. And part of me panics a little bit because I'm told that he tells this. And I was like, oh, I don't know if you're ready for that. And not to mention, sometimes I feel like sometimes kids get up and kind of glorify, I've done this. If you don't have, I know a lot of kids look up to Brenner. And I was a little worried about the fact that maybe, if he shares that, people are going to be like, yeah, I kind of want to try that. But thankfully, he was like, I hated it. It was horrible. I was living these 2 lives. I was going home and going to church, pretending that I was this good Christian kid, la-da-da-da, and then I was going to work and I was doing all this over here. So he shares this whole testimony. That's where we're at. He shared that 3 weeks ago, and I was just like, well done. I couldn't say a whole lot. I was, part of me was a little panicked, because then I thought, before the guy asked for them to work, I looked at him and I said, I need you to know his story. Are you, I don't want to scare you, but you need to just know that this is why he quit his other job. Because of this and this. It's like, we got this. I totally got this. So my only concern was just making sure that Dwayne, who just hired him, at least knew what was happening and why. And he was, oh my goodness. I can't even tell you how many great things have come out of something that was so horrible, because it was something I hoped and wished and prayed would never hit our doorsteps. And Hudson learned a lot through it. Anyways, that's it. I feel like I could go on with so many just different tangents, but I know you guys have got the gist of it, and I love you, and please love us. And I know, I think it's important that you guys know, because I know you do think that my kids are so great. And they are great. I think they're great. They're fantastic, fantastic kids. I am very thankful that we have been able to walk through this. It has made us so close in being able to go through these things. And that there isn't a worse story, because it could have ended so horribly. When I think about it, I start to literally get panic attacks, because I think of what it's done to my brother Andrew, who literally half of his brain is just the kid, you know, I mean, he'll never hold a really good, decent job. I mean, my goodness, he's what, almost 40, and he's doing magic shows and guitar lessons.
She's making
I love him, but that is his life for the rest of his life because he did not go to college. His brain is half fried, and it could have happened. It could have happened.
Wait.
I love you. I'm sorry that was so long. I love you.
Oh my God. At the end, she just disses her brother. I mean, they know about Andrew. He's a fucking magician, man. He's not going anywhere. He didn't go to college. I'm dead. Now, if you would have watched that, if you were the recipient of that communication, who would respond by saying, "Oh my God, Jen, I just listened to your words and I just felt them all the way from the floorboards, all the way up through my soul." And it just, or would you be like, "Holy shit, who the fuck am I friends with? This is insane. This is insane." So I think the opening statement for the Moors just need to play this shit. For our opening statement, the jurors, we would like you to see Jennifer Drake. About 24 hours before she found out her husband was murdered. This is who Jennifer Drake is. I'm just kidding. We got way too much powerful things to use, but let me just play this. This is who Jennifer Drake is. Now, I have no idea what she's talking about, but it sounds like Satan's coming through the floorboards. And I was able to catch that she's, you know, I think she's something about her son vaping is just the end of the world, and that Brian would have to leave Bounder's Ferry to deal with this shit versus her just dealing with this stuff as a stay-at-home mom, knowing that her husband's the only fucking goddamn cash provider. The fuck is going on around here?
Because it could have ended so horribly. I mean, when I think about it, I start to literally get panic attacks because I think of what it's done to my brother Andrew, who literally half of his brain is just the kid, you know, I mean, he'll never hold a really good, decent job. I mean, my goodness, he's what, almost 40, and he's doing magic shows and guitar lessons. I love him, but that is his life for the rest of his life because he did not go to college. His brain is half fried, and it could have happened. It could have happened. I love you. I'm sorry that was so long. I love you.
I love you. I'm so sorry that was so long. You guys, I just needed to hear one more time her tell me that she loved me. I love you too, Jen. Oh, happy Thanksgiving, Jen. How was Ireland, baby girl? Jennifer Drake just got back from Ireland. Brian always promised her that he would take her to like these big exotic trips on big milestones. So she posted on social media and said that on Brian's big milestone of turning 50 in the grave, that she took herself to Ireland. And she took a selfie of her having her first Guinness and said that she's just thinking about him in every sip. Every sip I take. Instead of every step I take, it's every sip I take. Now, Jennifer Drake was never considered a suspect by the Idaho State Police. Jennifer Drake was never asked by the Idaho State Police to give an account of what she did on the day of her husband's murder. Let's walk us through it. The Drake home was never searched for guns or patient files. No search warrants. None of the Drake's electronics in their home were seized, and none of the Drake's children were interviewed by Idaho State Police.
Recording. Hello.
This is Jennifer Drake testing out her new camera system in their house. What you see on the camera here is Jennifer Drake Airbnb-ing her family home and a Mexican family here staying there, and Jennifer Drake spying on the family. But more importantly, I don't give a shit about that. I care about the fact that Idaho State Police knew that Jennifer Drake's home had a camera at the front door, a camera at the back door, and a camera in the office. And never asked the Drake family if they could see any of the surveillance cameras, a couple days before the murder, a couple days after the murder, or the day of the murder. Thanks, Alana and TNT Investigates. Right here, we are just providing mounds of motherfucking proof that there is a big civil case that literally is right around the corner, January 2025, and that the Moores have the simplest of tasks to show that the Idaho State Police did nothing to investigate who truly killed Brian Drake. The victim of this case. The big beefcake? Jennifer Drake's husband? Woo! Gift memberships, baby! Kick them daisies! Look at them girls with the memberships, I want you to look at them girls with the memberships, everybody! The Drake home had cameras, yes, audio included, as both exit points, front and back door, as well as a camera inside the home. No footage was obtained by the Idaho State Police for March 12, 2020, or the days leading up to Brian Drake's murder. The following narrative is Truth and Transparency's best evidence and logical approach to replicate Jennifer Drake's 48 hours prior to the murder of her husband.
911, what is the address of the emergency? Oh my goodness, somebody please go to my husband. He's in Bonus Ferry. He was on the phone with me and he just all of a sudden yelled out and said he thought he got shot, and then all of a sudden the phone went dead. Okay, ma'am, I had a hard time understanding you, so can you take a deep breath and slow down for me? I couldn't understand what you said. Okay, I need somebody to get up to this address at 6811 South Main Street in Bonner Ferry, Idaho. I was just on the phone with my husband, and all of a sudden he yelled and said, ow, ow, and then all of a sudden he goes, I think somebody just shot through the window into my side. And then all of a sudden, the phone dropped, and it went dead. He said he wouldn't answer. Boundary County? Yes, he's in Boundary County. Okay, stay on the 11 South Main Street. Hold on just a moment, okay? Hold on just a moment. Okay, I'm going to put you through to Bonner County. Okay, I want you to stay on the line. Don't hang up, and you need to explain that the emergency is at that location in Bonner Ferry. Stay on the line. Okay. Stay on the line. Hello? Stay on the line. 911, what is the address of your emergency? Oh, please go to 6811 South Main Street. 911, what is the address of your emergency? Oh, please go to 6811 South Main Street. Okay, 60. Okay, I understand. And now I couldn't understand what you said. Can you say the address again? 6811 South Main Street, Suite D. It's at Drake Chiropractic of North Idaho. Okay, and which city is that in? It's in Bonus Ferry, Idaho. Okay. Okay, you've reached Bonner County, so I've got to get you over to... Okay, so bear with me for just 1 second. What's going on there? I was on the phone with him, and he was fine, and then all of a sudden he yelled and said, ow! He goes, oh my gosh, I think I was just shot. Somebody just shot through the window into my side, and then all of a sudden he dropped the phone, and he wouldn't answer. Okay. Hold on for me just a second, okay? Hold on.
Jennifer Drake is insinuating that within 15 seconds of her husband saying, "Oh my gosh, ow, 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 I think I've been shot. I think I was shot through the window," that within 15 seconds, Brian Drake was incapacitated to the point that he passed out. Jennifer Drake did not hear a gunshot. Jennifer Drake did not hear glass breaking. Will the medical examiner, Sally Aiken, say the same thing?
Is he conscious? I think he may not be. If he was conscious, he would have called me back. Are you able to do CPR on him? I'm not there. I mean, I didn't even, this is the ambulance up there. I'm 2 hours away. This is Bonner County with a transfer for a possible gunshot at 6811 South Main Street, Suite B at a chiropractor's office in Bonner's Ferry. Okay. And the caller is calling from 512-626-3618. Yes. She states that there was she spoke to a man who thinks that he just got shot, and then I was on the phone with my husband, and then he stopped talking to her. Okay. Go ahead, caller. He just was on the phone talking. He just got done working. That's my husband, and all of a sudden he yelled, and he yelled, "Ow, ow!" And I said, "What's wrong?" He goes, "Something just hit me, something horrible." I feel like a gunshot just hit my side, and then all of a sudden, it went blank, and I kept yelling and trying to yell at him. I'm telling you, if he was conscious, he would have called me back. Okay, yeah. What's the address there? He lives at 6811 South Main Street, Suite B. It's Drake Chiropractic in North Idaho. Okay, what's his name? His name is Brian Drake. I'm his wife. Okay, what's your name? What is your name, ma'am? Jennifer. Jennifer? Okay, Jennifer. I am going to send people out there right now to check on him, okay? Good. I'm going to send people out there right now, okay? Thank you. Do you guys call me back? Of course. Is this a good phone number to reach you at the 512-826-3618? Yes. Yes, please call me as soon as possible. Okay, I will, Jennifer. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, bye-bye.
Back on the record, same group of people. March 16th, 2020. It's now 3:24 p.m. That come to him ever get upset with him for any reason?
I don't know anybody that was upsetting him. I would even ask him on a regular basis because I'm much better administratively of being, and there would be times I'd be like, somebody had texted him and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got to get back to him," and that would be a day later for him. So I would always ask him, "Is everybody okay? Nobody's upset?" Because I'm always worried somebody's gonna be upset because they didn't reply. But I wouldn't ask for a certain reason. I would just always, "Everybody's okay," and he has never.
As far as him, a person not getting the result that they wanted, or thinking they paid for a service they didn't really get, or becoming injured, or thinking they're getting worse because of a treatment or something like that.
Never had that. The only time I've ever had of a person who was upset of him in Bonner's Ferry was, I don't know if he went to the Mennonite church, I don't know what it is, and I remember him showing me the text, was because his kids, he paid for him and his kids, or maybe he couldn't pay for them all. I don't remember what the situation, I don't even know that I remember him telling me, but I know it was a man and his kids, and Brian had went ahead to, for payment, and he had texted him later that day, and the text, he was very mad because he was like, "As a Christian man, how can you be accepting $50 per person? Our treasures are laid up in heaven. Why in the world do you need more money?" Like, it was really, we thought, inappropriate. So I remember the discussion very clearly because I looked at Brian and I said, you need to rise above, and he doesn't know that you've paid hundreds of thousands in school loans and this and that and the other. And I was like, all you need to say is, I'm sorry that that bothers you. Please feel free to see another chiropractor. And he stopped. He didn't see him anymore. And I remember sitting there with him, helping him form that reply. And the guy never replied. And he came back about 6 months later because he went to the other chiropractors who could not help him. And then he continued to seek care with them. He actually apologized. He did say, Brian told me he apologized.
Do you remember that guy's name?
I don't. And when I was thinking about it last night, the only two people I could think of was Scott Crawford and this one man.
What about this Paul Jacobson?
I could not possibly I just remember when he told me it was a no-name face to me because I don't know. But he was upset because he just thought Brian was charging too much.
But he left and came back.
He did. I do remember him telling me that he came back and apologized and was continuing care because he really needed Brian's care.
Does Brian discuss with you, did Brian discuss with you his clients and problems they were having or things they would talk to him about or just, things he found interesting or something like that?
If it was something weird or odd, like he would tell me if, especially if it was somebody I knew, that he'd be like, they just found out they had cancer but he would never tell me any health issues, not because they're all seem to be the same.
If a client would have been angry with him for something and he would have, had an unpleasant conversation, would you expect that he would talk to you about that experience or no?
I expect that he would totally tell me about the experience if he had the cognizance to remember to. And the only reason I say that is because we had many seasons, we have 4 children. There are so many, especially with him gone almost 4 days a week, there were times that there would be a conversation that would come up and I'd say, oh my goodness, this happened to so-and-so, why didn't you tell me? It's like, oh, totally, like, there was so much that he did apart from me that if he told me everything, we were sometimes passing the night. I couldn't even tell him things about my kids that I wanted to. So I don't ever think in my gut, like anytime I would ask a question or I would find out about something, he would always answer it completely fully. I did never feel like he was ever not telling me something.
Brian Drake's phone would tell a completely different story. On March 10th, 2020 at 7:55 p.m., just 48 hours before Brian's murder, Brian's phone had left him 16 notifications with timestamps and pictures per notification. The notifications were through the app called Hidden Eye. This app caught Jennifer Drake attempting to enter into Brian's phone 5 different times back to back with incorrect pass codes. Yours truly found that shit TNT style, baby! I extracted the information from the Cellbrite extraction, found it in the artifacts. Boom, bitch! There she is, Jennifer Drake, Hidden Eye app, 48 hours before the murder. Lana, yes, me, Lana caught this hoe in the cookie jar. Okay. If the Moores can't win this case, their attorneys can straight lick a damn dick. Here's Jennifer Drake having, I don't know, it looks like a summer party. It looks like a sex trafficking housing joint. The Idaho State Police have this information and have had this information, and yet they continue to put out a narrative that Dr. Daniel Lee Moore is the one that killed Dr. Brian Drake, when really the obvious suspect was right in front of their face the whole entire time. The Idaho State Police, Bonners Police, and Boundary County Sheriffs never considered Jennifer Drake a person of interest or a suspect. I want to pause it right here, play this one more time, those of you guys can see it in the flesh of flesh. The opening statement's going to come with a boom from the defense right here.
And then he continued to seek care with him. He actually apologized. He did say, Brian told me he apologized. Continuing care because he really needed Brian's care.
Sure, Jennifer. Sure, Jennifer.
The only reason I say that is because we had many seasons. We have 4
Many seasons. I mean, who the fuck says that?
children. There are so many, especially with him gone almost 4 days a week. There were times that there would be a conversation that would come up and I'd say, oh my goodness, this happened to so-and-so. Why didn't you tell me? He's like, oh, I totally forgot. Like, there was so much that he did apart from me.
Yeah.
That if he told me everything,
He was plowing for days, girl.
The night I couldn't even tell him things about my kids that I wanted to. So I don't ever think in my gut, like anytime I would ask a question or I would find out about something, he would always answer it completely fully. I did never feel like
he would always answer everything completely fully. I never felt like I had to he would just give it to me.
He was ever not.
I never felt like he was ever hiding anything.
Telling me something.
Brian Drake's phone would tell a completely different story. On March 10th, 2020 at 7:55 p.m., just 48 hours before Brian's murder, Brian's phone had left him 16 notifications with timestamps and pictures per notification. The notifications were through the app called Hidden Eye. This app caught Jennifer Drake attempting to enter into Brian's phone 5 different times back to back with incorrect pass codes.
Right here, take a look. 3/10/2020 at 7:55 and 27 seconds. This is from the advanced logical extraction. Now, 3/10/2020 7:55 advanced logical extraction. The reason that you see a couch in the above picture and then you see half of the person is because what the phone does is it takes a screenshot from behind the camera that is on the outside of the phone towards, like, if you were to take a picture of something that you would be looking at, and then it takes a selfie of to try to get a picture of the person that's obviously handling the phone. What we were able to do, I was able to match up the furniture in the picture that's above the selfie is couches that are in the living room of Brian Drake and Jennifer Drake's home. Those couches are seen in the Airbnb photos that Jennifer Drake has posted. They line up perfectly with where Jennifer Drake was at the time that she took the pictures, which was inside their home at 7:55 p.m. On 3/10. It's all right there. And I was able to then match that up with those are the couches in their living room from the Airbnb photos. Each time that Jennifer Drake attempted to put a new passcode in, she put in the same passcode twice. Then she went to a different passcode. But each time that she attempted a new passcode, the phone would take a picture, both a selfie angled picture as well as a back of the camera picture. This is the Hidden Eye app. Those of you guys that followed the Riley case, the Lake and Riley case, that app, if you saw the pre-trial motions with that case, that app was on the perpetrator's phone. Jennifer Drake would go on to tell detectives that Brian Drake did not have a password protected phone in her interview or interrogation, whatever you want to call this, with detectives, leaving Brian Drake's phone, allegedly, according to Jennifer, able for anybody that would have been able to get their hands on that phone, able to dial any number from his phone, meaning that anybody at 7:17 p.m. could have made the phone call that went to Jennifer Drake's cell phone. You did not need a password because it was not password protected at that time, the time of the murder. there she is, Jennifer Drake with a hat on, no makeup. At first, I thought it was a male until I had to zoom in, and then I was like, oh, hot damn. That picture looks really, really identical to their eldest son, Brenner. Now, Jennifer Drake will need to explain to a jury why she was attempting to break into her husband's phone 48 hours before his murder. Because remember, she told police that Brian would just tell her anything, and he didn't have a password protected phone, and yada, yada, motherfucking yada. Who had a motive? Who had $1 million motive? Not Dan Moore. This picture needs some explaining. Lots of explaining. And one day, maybe after the trial, I'll do some extra explaining about this picture. This picture where you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6. These mattresses just all over the place. What's up?
The Idaho State Police have this information and have had this information, and yet they continue to put out a narrative that Dr. Daniel Lee Moore is the one that killed Dr. Brian Drake, when really the obvious suspect was right in front of their face the whole entire time. The Idaho State Police, Bonners Police, and Boundary County Sheriffs never considered Jennifer Drake a person of interest or a suspect.
Now, if you were the attorneys of Jennifer Drake, how would you ever go about defending, or I should actually say, not defending, but you're accusing Dr. Dan Moore of being the one responsible for your husband's death, and so therefore you're taking this all the way to trial in a civil case. So you have to give an opening statement because it is a jury trial. They will have voir dire with jurors. They will be picking their jurors, and the jury will come into a courtroom, every single day for, I don't even know, I think it's 10 days for this trial. And Jennifer Drake will present her case first, and because there was a counter claim then by the Moores, then they would put on their case second. But the first case, because it's going at the same time pretty much, the first case, Jennifer Drake obviously does her opening statements. Then Dr. Moore's team will then do their opening statements to the jury. And then Jennifer Drake will then call her first witness. After Jennifer Drake calls her first witness, which is expected to be Detective and ex-police chief, Assistant Police Chief Marty Ryan from Bonners Ferry. Then Jennifer Drake is expected to then call medical examiner Sally Aiken. Then Fire Chief Dave Winey of Bonners Ferry. And then Avista, which is the gas worker from Avista, Brian Scrimshire. And then Michael Van Leuven, Detective Michael Van Leuven from Idaho State Police, which he is expected to testify with his probable cause affidavit statements, as well as a PowerPoint presentation that includes surveillance cameras, and then Jennifer Drake herself. Now, I am expecting a couple rebuttal witnesses depending on how the Moores defend their case and who they are calling. Kicking things off, Marty Ryan, who is the assistant police or was the assistant police chief of Bonners Ferry, they had the case, Bonners Ferry had the case up until the morning of the 13th, where Idaho State Police took over, and then they were the lead on this case by March 13th at 9 o'clock in the morning. So Bonners Ferry Police Department was the lead from when they got the call, and they split the duties with Boundary County Sheriff. So between 7:59 and 9 o'clock in the morning, Boundary County Sheriff's Department, as well as Bonners Ferry Police. Then they turned this completely over to the Idaho State Police Department. And the Idaho State Police Department brought in the FBI Special Task Force team, as well as Coeur d'Alene detectives, because that's where the Drakes lived. They worked with the Border Patrol. And then they said that they brought in the Kootenai County dogs. This case would be investigated for 6 months, when then they would ultimately do search warrants for the person of Daniel Lee Moore, his house, his office, his trucks, vehicles, all those good things, on August 27th. And then after serving search warrants when he was not around, they lured him to the police department. And on August 27th, 2020, they got Daniel Lee Moore to falsely confess to a crime that he did not commit using, well, first of all, they violated his Miranda after he had invoked, hey, I want to see a lawyer. Hey, I think I need to see a lawyer, 8-9 times. When it was all said and done, a judge in the district court saw it that way as well. You violated his Miranda. Not only that, but then it was a forced coercion, false confession, and it was completely thrown out, couldn't be used. And so if all you guys have is this man's false confession that you got out of him, then this is all being tossed. The reason that is important, because Michael Van Leuven's probable cause for the arrest of Daniel Lee Moore basically was put up, and it was told and deemed that it was not good enough, and they couldn't even get the littlest of a probable cause to have a damn preliminary hearing. Jennifer Drake knew this when all of this becomes known to her after the arrest of Daniel Lee Moore. All of this starts happening. Charges are getting tossed. They appeal it. They go up to the Supreme Court. But prior to actually anything getting tossed, Daniel Lee Moore was arrested in August of 2020, so August 27th. Jennifer Drake was so peeved when Daniel Lee Moore was able to obtain a $500,000 bail bond set and be able to leave the jail after a preliminary hearing where they actually went forward with charges, because they were allowed to use the false confession in the preliminary hearing. That was October 2nd. Daniel Lee Moore's attorney was able to get the $1 million bond down to $500,000. Daniel Lee Moore was able to put up the $500,000, was able to then be out on bail October 12th or 13th of 2020. And then Jennifer Drake went out and got herself a civil attorney and filed November of 2020 a wrongful death, as well as other things on not only Daniel Lee Moore, but Jane Doe, who come to find out is Daniel Lee Moore's wife that was included in but they didn't refer to her as any name other than Jane Doe. Very interesting. So before any trial, a criminal trial, before any evidence was put out, nothing, Jennifer Drake went and filed, I don't know, 20, 30-page lawsuit November of 2020. Daniel Lee Moore, while doing his criminal case, his criminal attorney also was his then civil attorney, and not only answered the civil complaint, but then Daniel Lee Moore countersued Jennifer Drake and filed December 9th of 2020. You guys have been watching the Karen Reed case, and you guys know that Karen Reed, she's in the middle of a criminal case. And then here's Paul O'Keefe and the family. They file civilly against Karen Reed for the wrongful death of John O'Keefe. Okay. What happens when there is a competing case? So when you have somebody charges you civil, or somebody comes after you civilly, and there is, concurrent, we have this criminal case, what 9 times out of 10 out of 10 almost, you can go and get a civil case to be stayed, and it has to be on hold until the criminal case is handled. That is exactly what Karen Reed went and did, and I told you that's exactly what Karen Reed would go and do, is that you're going to go file for a stay, because in a civil case, there is no, if they want to call you to the stand, they will call you to the stand. It's not like a criminal case where you can just, I'm the defendant here and I don't have to take the stand. I don't have to say anything. I can invoke basically my Fifth Amendment. Well, in a civil case, it works a little bit differently. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that your criminal case is handled first, and then you can handle everything to do with that civilly afterwards. So December of 2020, Dr. Moore answers Jennifer Drake's complaint and then files a counter suit against Jennifer Drake for basically defamation of character, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and economic, basically everything that transpired from her actions have called him economic loss. Then in 2021, in February, just a couple months thereafter, the preliminary hearing, Judge Buchanan rules that, you can't use, she rules on this confession and that it's inadmissible because Dr. Moore's rights were violated with the Miranda, and that everything that came from that is out. And unless you have something else that you are coming forward with, you do not meet the burden of probable cause. The state said, well, we have the probable cause affidavit of Van Leuven, and that's what we're presenting, and that's what we're putting forward. And the only thing that was taken out of there was the false confession of Dr. Moore, so that was removed. And then based off of the rest of whatever was in that probable cause affidavit is what they put forward. And that did not meet, they couldn't get a indictment through grand jury, nothing. Nobody was doing anything with it. It didn't meet the smallest of burdens. Jennifer Drake knew all of this, February of 2021. Then they want to appeal it. They take it all the way up because the big thing that was on the ticket there was that not only did Judge Buchanan throw this out for Miranda violation, but Judge Buchanan ruled that the police used coercive tactics to get Dr. Moore to false confess, which puts the police, like Detective Van Leuven, like Detective Tolson, who's from the Idaho 4 case, Bonners Ferry Police Department, Boundary County, it puts them on the hook then for a huge ass lawsuit, which Dr. Moore went forward with through his attorney, Joe Bolton. And they then filed a huge federal case against the police, law enforcement. While this was happening, Jennifer Drake appealed. When I say Jennifer Drake appealed, they appealed the criminal case, and it came back, and the Supreme Court upheld the ruling of Judge Buchanan, except for, now here's where you know that everybody's circle jerking law enforcement and money. The Supreme Court would come back and say, yep, we uphold Judge Buchanan's ruling that Marty Ryan and these detectives were completely out of bounds. They violated Dr. Moore's rights with the Miranda violations he clearly invoked, and he was asking for an attorney repeatedly, and you guys would not give him one. But we don't believe that you guys use coercive tactics, so we're going to take the coercion away and just you're going to have the Miranda violation. That would be then a huge blow due to a new court case that they cited in Vega. You guys can go read about it. If you put in Moore 2022, there's a whole big write-up, and it's, it's made a nice spot there in the record books, as I say. So all of this would happen in 2021, 2022, and then Judge Buchanan, when she stayed the civil case, she said that this civil case cannot go forward until the criminal case is completely handled. There has to be a resolution to this criminal case before the civil case can then go forward. Well, when this case was dismissed, it was dismissed without prejudice, which means that at any point in time, the Idaho State Police or Boundary County, whoever can, at any point in time, they can walk up to Dr. Daniel Lee Moore and cuff him and say that you are under the arrest for the murder of Brian Drake. This is not double jeopardy because he was never tried. So Dr. Moore, every day he goes to bed, when he wakes up in the morning, it's like, is today going to be the day that I'm arrested for, yet again, this man's murder? Is that a way that you or anybody else that you love would want to live every single day for the rest of their lives? And the answer for me is no. Especially if you have evidence out there that backs a lot of the things that were swirling around the air in the ineptness of the police department. There was no investigation, and who truly were the suspects that should have been looked at. So this is where it gets tricky, though. Ready? In 2023, just after the holidays, so after 2022, just so after the holidays, Jennifer Drake and her team say, well, we want to move forward with this civil case because there's been no movement on the criminal case. We want to move forward with this civil case, so we're going to put a motion asking Judge Buchanan to lift the stay. Now, what would happen from this day forward would truly change the direction of everything under the sun for the Moores, for Jennifer Drake, and for this criminal case. The Moore's attorney, you have an opportunity to object to that and then give your reasoning. And what I think would be a simple, we object, okay, because the criminal case has not been, it had to come to a conclusion. In this criminal case, meaning like the number associated with the murder of Brian Drake has a case number. When that case comes to a conclusion, then you can go forward with a civil case. Instead of objecting to the fact that Jennifer Drake wants to move forward with a civil case, Dr. Moore's attorney, Joe Bolton, files a no objection. She actually files written work that says, we don't object to us moving forward with a civil case, with this civil case. We don't have any objection to it. Now, only one person could answer as to why that decision was made and how that all played out. But then what would end up happening is that now we're moving forward with Jennifer Drake's wrongful death civil lawsuit, and we're also moving forward with Dr. Moore's counterclaim to Jennifer, to her claims. So this would move forward in March of 2023, April 2023, somewhere around there. And now there was 2 different dates set for trial. those dates were pushed back ultimately for different reasons. One of them, it was in, I think, July of 2023, and then it was set for, I can't remember if it was December or January of 2024. And now, all this time, here we go. It's November right now of 2024, and we have a trial date set for January 25th, 2025. And this is the tricky part. Now, if you're somebody like Dan Moore, you had a false confession get thrown out. Jennifer Drake's team is going to ask and call Dan Moore to that stand because they have the right to do that. And in a civil case, Dan Moore is going to go and have to take the stand. And yes, could Dan Moore plead the fifth? Sure. But in a civil case, unlike a criminal case, the jury can take a negative inference of you pleading the fifth. You have no protections, even though this criminal case, okay, so whatever you say can and may be used against you. All right? Who would ever want to be put in that type of situation? I know I wouldn't want to be put in that situation. Would you want to be put in that situation? But what if you had the winning hand? What if all the evidence under the sun, because you know that you didn't kill anybody, you know that there's no, oh, what if I say this or what if I say that, right? Nothing that I can possibly say could ever prove that I killed somebody that I did not kill, right? Because I just did not do it, right? And then you have your lawyer there to object to ridiculous questions like they're supposed to do, especially if it involves privileged conversations. But how scary would that be? We're supposed to move forward with this civil case knowing that stuff that would come out in this civil case could potentially be, I don't know, used in some weird ass way to rearrest Dan Moore for the murder of Brian Drake. And what it comes down to is that I believe that Jill Bolton would have never told her clients to move forward on a case that she didn't have a smoking gun on. Because Judge Buchanan protected, as you should be protected, and basically stayed this civil case. It would have never been dealt with until that criminal case was handled. So why wouldn't you object and say, no, we have a without prejudice attached to this. They can at any point in time arrest Dan Moore for the murder of Brian Drake. So this criminal case has not been handled, right? So we object because, and no doubt in my mind, Judge Buchanan is going to be like, yep, nope, that's absolutely right. Okay. Now, here we are 2 months away from a trial, but Dr. Moore has a different attorney than Joe Bolton. Jennifer Drake is being represented by Peter Erblin and the Lake City Law Firm or some shit out of Coeur d'Alene. Dr. Dan Moore, all the work product in this case seems to fall heavily on, and who did everything was Jill Bolton, a federal attorney out of Coeur d'Alene, and who is slated right now to litigate the case is Matt Dugan out of Spokane and public defender, criminal defense attorney, public defender Dana Bowles. Come to find out, Dana Bowes, Bowes, just signed on at the end of October to represent in a criminal matter Misha Nazara, who is the woman that was on TikTok claiming all of the human sex trafficking that was done to her. She mentioned the Brian Drake case. She goes to trial December 9th and 10th with a criminal case for the rest of she was arrested for whatever in the summer. Literally, if you go check the docket, Misha signed her some way, somehow. No idea why. I think this is a conflict of interest. At the end of October 2024. Now, I would think Dana Bowes has her hands full preparing for a trial for Dr. Moore, but then picks up this case, Misha Nazara, something like that. I forget how she says the last name. It's been a couple different names. And she has a jury trial slated for the 9th and 10th of December. So guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I will be covering Misha's trial the 9th and 10th of December. Because you bet your fucking dollar I'm making sure no fuckerage happens on my motherfucking watch. Over the past 2 years, there's been a handful of depositions that have taken place. Depositions of Jennifer Drake, depositions of Dan Moore, Dan Moore's wife, who's known as Jane Doe. I think it's so funny. Dan Moore's alibi witness. That's what everybody keeps forgetting, is that Dan Moore's alibi witness is the coroner who took a polygraph past the motherfucker. And here, those silly little ISP detectives never offered Dan Moore to take a polygraph. Because the motherfucker would have. But then I'm like, they can't ask him to take one because he'd pass. He would have passed back then. Because he ain't the killer. Anyways. I will end you guys with a little bit of tea. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And yo tea is that Jennifer Drake has a billboard associated with this case where she is always looking for tips. Just the tips, nothing but the tips. And Truth and Transparency today submitted 113 tips, totaling 189 pages of material. So 113 tips, 189 pages of material. At Truth and Transparency, are you going to write a book? No, I'm just going to do a Netflix original. Because it's just wild. 10K tailgate party incoming, right? So a little bit of tea there for 113 pieces of individual tips. It was 189 total pages. And ready for this crazy shit? When you are the defendant, you submit your exhibits as like, A, B, C, like usually letters. Okay. Defendant. And it is put in writing by Jennifer Drake's team when they submitted their, here's our witness list. They took off of the witness list. Hold on. Let's see what they submitted here. They decided that it was not in their best interest to put source of information 1, which was the patient of Brian Drake's, that's 70, 80 years old, that makes no motherfucking sense, does not have anything against Dr. Moore, but is put in the criminal probable cause affidavit of Van Leuven, where Van Leuven claims that this woman knows that all these people left Dr. Moore's practice to go to Dr. Drake's, because that's the motive in this case. The motive in this case is that Dr. Moore was losing patients to Dr. Drake, and so he shot him because of 30 patients allegedly. And this source of information was now pulled and yanked from the witness list. And I wonder if that has anything to do with the lovely little paper trail I left all over my channel when I sprayed that shit. Like, what the fuck? This bitch is going to testify? Are you out of your mind? She has the biggest axe to grind with Dr. Moore that I've ever seen. And she's like, I don't know. I don't even know. She just kept saying, I don't know to all these. But then, so wouldn't that be false to put into a probable cause affidavit for the arrest of somebody if you knowingly know that the person that you're saying is, your source of information is a fucking goddamn liar? And you know that that is nothing but lies when you vetted the fucking shit? Anyways. Marty Ryan is the former assistant chief of police in the Bonner Ferry Police Department. He participated in the investigation of the homicide of Dr. Drake. He is a fact witness who may be called to testify, and which testimony may include opinions. The facts and potential opinions to be offered by Martin Ryan are summarized in the declaration of Martin Ryan filed. In the case number 22CV00376, United States District Court for the District of Idaho. The United States District, so they're using the declaration of Martin Ryan from Dr. Moore's federal case against the police. Plaintiff, meaning Jennifer Drake, reserves the right not to call this expert witness named herein. Plaintiff reserves the right to call any expert witnesses identified, named, or called by defendants as set forth in their discovery responses and/or expert witness disclosures. Plaintiff have made a diligent effort to comply with the requirements of Idaho Rules of Civil Procedure 26, whatever, blah, blah, in making this disclosure. Plaintiff reserves the right, however, to supplement and or modify this disclosure as discovery warrants and further as provided by our IRCP 26 with respect to rebuttal witnesses. Now, a rebuttal witness comes in when, depending on how the Moors play it, and they have somebody saying whatever, and then they go and they grab somebody that's going to testify, to rebut that, as we saw with the Delphi case, to kind of just show you. Plaintiff reserves the right to add or substitute other witnesses for any of the witnesses identified herein who might become unavailable at the time of trial for reasons beyond plaintiff's control, despite the exercise of due diligence. Why wouldn't you subpoena your witnesses? If you're under a subpoena, then they would be able to show. Discovery remains ongoing, and there may be other persons not identified herein who may fall within the scope of this category. If such persons are identified, plaintiff reserves the right to reasonably disclose such persons and to call them as witnesses at the time of trial. Any of the persons identified above may be called for purposes of rebuttal and or impeachment. So that would be Marty Ryan, Brittany Wiley, Fire Chief Dave Winey, Mike Van Leuven, Brian Scrimsher, and Emmy Dr. Sally S. Aiken. Now, Sally Aiken's going to have a lot on her plate. They are trying to get out of bring Sally Aiken to the game because Sally Aiken is retired. And they feel that anybody from that department now can testify on the behalf of Sally Aiken's report. Dr. Aiken performed the autopsy of the body of Dr. Drake on March 13, 2020. The findings of the autopsy laboratory and or toxicology testing and the medical opinion formed about what conditions caused or contributed to his death are contained in the autopsy report already produced by plaintiffs in discovery and of the defendants in the related criminal proceeding. Dr. Aiken has retired, and it may be necessary to call a representative of the Spokane County Medical Examiner's Office in her place. Excuse me? If the bitch ain't dead, roll her bones on out here and I'll dig up your daughter. What? You're going to bring somebody else in to testify to her autopsy report and her findings? That individual would offer the same facts and opinions as Dr. Aiken as set forth in the autopsy report. What? What if they don't feel the same way? Dr. Aiken performed the autopsy on the body of Dr. Drake on March 13, 2020. The findings of the autopsy laboratory and or toxicology testing and the medical opinion formed about what conditions caused or contributed to his death are contained in the autopsy report attached hereto as Exhibit A. Dr. Aiken will offer the facts and opinions as set forth in the autopsy report. Does the autopsy report talk about a time of death, though? Dr. Aiken's CV is attached here as Exhibit B. Additionally, attached here to Exhibit C is Dr. Aiken's fee schedule. We got what? You guys, come on now. Again, I told you what Brian Scrimsher is going to be testifying for Jennifer Drake, which is Brian Scrimsher is a fact witness who also may offer one or more opinions. He may be called to testify concerning his response to a reported gas leak at Daniel Moore's office on March 15th, 2020. Remember, March 15th is a Sunday after the murder of Dr. Drake, which was on March 12th. He is certified in the detection of gas leaks. Yeah. Mr. Scrimsher's opinions are contained in ISP report, supplemental number, whatever, which has been produced in discovery in this case and also produced in counsel in the State versus Moore criminal case. As shown in that report, it was Mr. Scrimsher's opinion that the gas fitting was intentionally loosened and that it was not not reasonable that a person would suffer a headache from a gas leak and not notice the odor. The interview of Mr. Scrimsher was recorded and transcribed and is included in the Idaho State Police case file as exhibit number whatever. which has also been produced in discovery and has been in possession of counsel for defendant both in the state's case and this case. You guys, I'm dead. Brian Scrimshire didn't have that opinion. Do you know who had that opinion about Brian Scrimshire? Was Van Leuven's hypotheticals. Because he does not think that anybody would ever commit suicide by means of a natural gas leak. Also, in his interview, he said he did not find any tools down there to loosen anything by hand. He did not see any fingerprints or on the dusty material down there. And he said that he never talked to Dr. Daniel E. Moore to discuss anything with him, nor was he requested to. He did not write a report in the case. He did not take pictures. And these motherfuckers are going to call this motherfucker to the stand. Are you insane? Well, thank God Lana Oriani, Truth and Transparency, we call the Vista back of the day. And I was happy to supply a Vista with material that was being attributed to their worker for statements that he did not say. And so legal was very appreciative of my truthfulness. Woo! I highly doubt Brian Scrimshire is going to get behind and ride it all the way down. No one's taking it up the ass for anybody. Now, I said to myself, why in the world is witness number 4, the fire chief David Winey, on the damn list? Well, let me tell you guys why. Fire Chief Dave Winey is a fact witness whose testimony may also include opinions. The substance of his testimony relates to the gas leak at Dr. Moore's office on Sunday, March 15th, 2020. Remember, ISP's case is that Daniel E. Moore shot through a window at Brian Drake on Thursday, March 12th, 2020, approximately around 7:26 p.m., of which he just felt so overwhelmingly guilty about the fact that he shot and killed Brian Drake that he then drove to his own office on Sunday, March 15th, put himself in his office to try to kill himself by means of a natural gas leak. He tried to gas himself out. This has to be the absolute most unbelievable. If you or me or anybody else out there would ever bring this shit to police, they would think that we are the most, we're conspiracy theorists, man. Who in the fuck would ever call the police and propose this preposterous bullshit? And the police are like, woo, yeah, sign us up. There we go. Oh my God, that's the ticket. You're right. Holy shit. That man tried to kill himself. Excuse me? Well, guess what? We have a lawsuit that the Southwest Meat Locker Company, located right there in the corner of South Main Street, North Main Street, whatever the fuck it was, literally the next block from Daniel E. Moore's office. The state, county, whatever it was, they decided they were going to move the natural gas line. When they decided to move the natural gas line, there was tons of jackhammering going on, and guess what? People's shit got ruined. So much so that people started suing people. Well, what did yours truly go out and get? Well, yeah, we did it. We went out and got that. You can go look up the case right now. There is a case that has the absolute dates associated with when this jackhammering started and what was transpiring and how the natural gas line was fucked with. And it affected all of those businesses along 95 during and at the time of the damn murder of Brian Drake. And these fucking assholes knew this the whole damn time. And there was a gas leak and it smelled like gas all over that town. And it's provable by all of the information that's in these lawsuits, specifically the Southwest Meat Locker, where everybody's meat, their deer meat that they hunted and went and put into storage, all this, it was all spoiled. They lost all of this shit. It's in paperwork. So this Chief Winey was interviewed, but guess what? The interview was somehow not recorded because there was a, I don't know, quote unquote, in the report says a technical malfunction is what's in the report. So anything that the chief of the fire department had to say wasn't recorded. How convenient, you fucking assholes. Sounds good. Sign me up. This is crazy. So Chief Winey, Dave Winey, you think he wants to, don't include me in this shit. You better not be calling me to the stand. So Chief Winey's potential testimony is also summarized in the report of Detective Van Leuven. Well, that's funny that you had to summarize his report. Why was that, Detective Van Leuven? Oh, because we don't have a... Now, next up is Brittany Wiley. She is the Idaho State Police Forensic Services team member. Brittany Wiley is an analyst for the Idaho State Police Forensic Services. The subject matter of her testimony is summarized in a report. This report is located in the investigation of the death of Brian Drake from the Idaho State Police Department. Well, why the fuck does Jennifer Drake have that information? Oh, that's right. The Idaho State Police gave Jennifer Drake the entire criminal discovery. Excuse me? Yeah, you heard that. Jennifer Drake was handed all of the criminal discovery in her husband's murder case that's an open and active investigation. Have you ever heard of such a thing? So wait, since the Idaho State Police gave it to Jennifer Drake, can the public go get it? Absolutely, you can. Go get it. Go do a FOIA request for the Idaho State Police. Here's the case number. Go eat your heart out. You're just going to probably have to pay for it. But just go give them a hard drive. They'll just download it all, drag files, go to town. So Miss Wiley's opinions are contained in that report, including her lab report, of a copy of which is included with this disclosure and incorporated by references. The Smith & Wesson model Lady Smith 35-7 Magnum caliber revolver was provided by Jennifer Drake for examination. The bullet recovered from the homicide of Brian Drake was eliminated as having been fired from the submitted Smith & Wesson revolver. So Jennifer Drake only owns one firearm? Oh, fucking A, I can't wait for it. Wait for it, wait for it. Give me some time. This is absurd. You guys, so Brittany Wiley is going to testify that, hey, Jennifer Drake's one of their weapons. So this is going to be great. We're going to have a ballistics woman testify that, hey, we tested Jennifer Drake's bullet, or we tested Jennifer Drake's, we fired her gun and then we compared it to the bullet that we found from her husband's body and it doesn't match. So we're going to go ahead and eliminate what? You're going to eliminate that gun, not Jennifer Drake. The fuck out of here. Great. Awesome. We're going to eliminate that gun. Well, I got about 4 guns up my sleeve that Jennifer Drake had access to. I mean, who would ever go to trial with this shit? I wouldn't want any part of this shit. Any questions? Jennifer says in chat here, Jen with the kissy face says, the life insurance will sue first. I was thinking, can I cut a deal with the life insurance people? Like, hey, man, come on. You would have never been able to catch on to this huge life insurance scam. Okay. So what do I get out of this deal, man? It's $1 million policy. I'm going to try to get you all of it back. But can I get a little something on the top? Can we get a little, Good Samaritan? Happy Thanksgiving, Lana. Please tell me there will be cameras in the courtroom. Well, we are motioning. I am motioning to put cameras in the courtroom. Who would ever deny cameras in the courtroom? I mean, what doesn't Jennifer Drake want her day in court? Doesn't Jennifer Drake want to look into the camera and tell the world, She should be saying that she wants this to be streamed. So maybe we can get a joint motion going and saying that we want this to be streamed live. But I want my I want Truth and Transparency to be the poll camera. To be the poll camera for this case. Jennifer Drake came out and told the Bonner County and Boundary County communities that just like her family deserved the truth, they deserve the truth. And once she said that and she made it about the citizens of these counties, I believe that the counties are then entitled to follow along with what we are alleging to be total police corruption with this is either at work by the police departments collectively together, or what I think is going to be displayed is or some crazy ass ring of shit that's been going on, and that Brian Drake knew about shit, was involved with shit, and Jennifer Drake knew about that shit as well. Because who would ever protect somebody that just fucking killed their husband? Why would any police officer in America ever need to protect Jennifer Drake? Or Delroy Gatchell, or, Caleb Cohen-Azara, or anybody for that matter? You wouldn't. Well, unless you got a payday coming, I guess. Mutual of Omaha needs a tip line, says Jen. She should be your bestie and on the show here weekly if she was interested in the truth. Right? You know how many times I've offered to say, Jen, your husband was left to bleed out after you called 911. They had the address. They were in the neighborhood. When I say they were in the neighborhood, they were right there. Why wouldn't they go in, go to that address, go to the back door, the glass door, or the blue door? Both were open. Walk in there. Hey, see, it says it all over the place. North, Idaho Chiropractic, whatever the hell it was called. Brian Drake should be here today. And I want to hear a medical examiner tell me that based off of Brian Drake's wound, that he would have been incapacitated in 15 seconds, that he wouldn't have been able to call 911 himself. I don't buy it. The only way that man is not calling 911 himself is because he doesn't have a device available to do that. Okay? He was ambushed outside. That's going to go with the, Sally Aiken, I cannot wait for you to explain to me and the world how Brian Drake's sweater, don't call me, how his sweater had vegetation and soil, and how his fingernails had nothing but dirt under them. This is a man that's a chiropractor that works with patients in his hands all day. He's got, contusions on different parts of his face. And how would he possibly have debris all over the back of his sweater that would be consistent with rolling around in the dirt outside? Because you can't rule out the possibility. Then you're going to talk about the fact that, well, the path of the travel of the bullet you've described does not. Did you work with the Idaho State Police? Did they come to you and ask you, wait, we noticed that in your report here, the trajectory of the bullet is opposite of what we've been able to find. If Brian was actually at a stool over his desk and he was shot through the window, we have it at a downward. You have it at an upward angle. We have it at a downward angle. So can we go over this? Can we see, how tall is your perpetrator? Okay, how tall is that window? Where's the bullet hole at? Where's that all? And then if Brian Drake was sitting in the stool, do you have the stool? How tall was the stool off the ground? Oh wait, you didn't keep any of that? Are you out of your mind? Do you have the window? Nope. Don't got the stool. Do you have his chiropractic table? Nope. Do you have the desk? Nope. Huh? Wait, what? Did you measure anything to do with the stool and how high it was off the ground? And then where's Brian Drake's torso and where would that be? I mean, did you work with a crime scene reenactment specialist? No. So you didn't even line up to see if, in fact, Brian Drake sitting at that stool with his back facing the window, how that's possible. Didn't you do Pharaoh scans and shit? This is crunch time. This is crush city. I've been saying this shit for 2 fucking years. Now, I have a question for all of you potential jurors out there. Truth and transparency jurors. Put a 1 in chat if you would find Dan Moore guilty. 2 in chat, not guilty. So 1's guilty, 2's not guilty. What do we got? Well, I see 2. And where are my 2? I have yet to see a 1 yet. No 1s out there? Nobody thinks that, oh God, Jennifer's going to be able to prove this because this is a civil case, so it's just the tip of the scale. She just has to, unanimous, says Glitch. This is a unanimous decision. We have just 2s. Huh. So then here, if you were, you got to think about this though. If you were, anybody else want to guess here? Jennifer Drake is shocking and horror. Average Joe said, I'll give you some 1s. 1 + 1. Oh, shit, ready for this? So if you were Dr. Moore's attorneys, I'm just curious, if you were to be like, hey, listen, man, I just don't trust these Idaho State police officers. I don't trust these feds. I don't trust anybody, man. And I just don't want you to ever have to worry about what you would say and they could use it against you. Let's just concede and not even show up to the hearing, to the trial. Would you ever, if you were Dr. Moore's attorney, say, listen, it's not worth the gamble. If you don't say anything, they can, never try to twist any words or, whatever. Let's just not even fuck with this and, concede or whatever the word may be. Non-contest it. And then we just roll with the punches with what the jury would ever award in damages. What do you think? Would you ever say that, hey, what do you think? Curious your guys' thoughts out there. So Colleen says, yeah, you would consider that because I don't want to ever face a criminal case. So, Patricia says, well, if my attorney said that I would get a new attorney. Wait, what the fuck? You see all this shit we have? How the fuck do we lose this? How we losing? Okay. Oh, that's fucking awesome. I just fell out of my chair. Hell yeah, Patty. Patty gets a motherfucking bell. That was hilarious. I would get a new attorney if they told me that shit. Dead. Damn, that made my night. Thank you so much, Patricia. I don't even know who you are, but that was awesome. That was so great. Colleen's yes, and then right behind it, I would get a new attorney. Patty from Ohio. OH, baby. That's the cop helping her, whoever gave her the discovery, in my opinion. Exactly, right? Nice. Spicy chicken nuggets. I like that. Well, here we're just going to give you the criminal discovery, right? Jennifer Drake has more of the case discovery than than Dan Moore could probably ever imagine. You know? And so I said, let me put myself in the shoes here. Would I ever concede and say that I did something that I didn't do? Fuck no. Abso-fucking-lutely not. Now, if you're going to offer me different charges, I'd consider. What would you like me to concede to? Some disorderly conduct that's off my record in a year? Like I stopped traffic? Sure. Just to not have to deal with your asses? Absolutely. Colleen says, I am laughing so hard. Not as hard as Jen's coming. Oh. You guys are great. Well, tonight, thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. We are now in the... Oh, make sure you guys go buy your gifts. I think all the Black Friday prices kicked in once midnight happened. So if you guys are shoppers, let me take a look at my Amazon account. Oh, Jen Drake just texted me. Okay, finally, I'll accept your help. Oh, hey, girl. What's up? How are you? Listen, I'm cool with it. All my friends, they probably swing and I don't even know it. You're cool, girl. Don't worry about it. No one's going to find out. Until I sign with Netflix. Until I sign my deal with Netflix. You guys ever played Papa Shot? You guys ever played Papa Shot? Big fan of Papa Shot. You think Santa should bring some Papa Shots? Having the runs and going into the bushes. What do you think about that? Having the runs and going into the bushes. Don't you think jurors would understand that? But what was any of that matter if Brian Drake was shot and dead way before even 7 o'clock came, or right around 7 o'clock? Like Dr. Moore going into the bushes to take a shit and wipe his ass with some fucking poison ivy at, whatever time, I don't know, 7:20, 7:30, who even fucking knows? But if Brian Drake was shot and killed at 7 o'clock, what does it matter what anybody was doing after 7 o'clock? And the answer is absolutely nothing. So your little fucking white truck traveling around ain't gonna mean dick. That's the damn truth. The lesser charges would be all I admitted to. Netflix, our little secret hilarious. Okay, if you guys were to name this, like my work here that I want to do with the Netflix original, what would you say to name this?
They get to work together. They get to be outside.
Right there. What would you name this documentary? I want Jennifer Drake to star in it. I want Jennifer Drake to join forces with me and say, okay, even if I go away to prison, I really want to work with you, Lana, on this documentary, because I have no idea how my life went way left instead of right. Or she just realizes that, well, Dan Moore had nothing to do with it. Lana's been right this whole time. I've had nothing to do with it. So can we get these cop rat bastards that didn't go and save my husband after I called 911, and this Eldora woman who's a fucking fangirl of my husband? She was just swinging from the rafters, riding his cock. We can do shit like that.
On this property. He's working them just for Fridays for right now, because the other great thing is that they have weekends off, which at the resort they never did. They had to work weekends all the time. So they work Monday through Friday, which during the summer. So
Okay, so what do you guys think? Train wreck and Bonners. Okay. Shit. I know what you did last summer. Oh shit. Anybody else got anything? Let's see. Wait, hold on. I think I would go with like The Obvious Suspect. I mean, it's just so fucking obvious. Like, how do you just look away? you know.
Right now it's just Fridays because they only have school 4 days a week. And then once they're done with school, they get to work 5 days a week, have weekends off, which is great because that's when we go camping and do our things. And they get to be under this amazing, amazing man. And so they had so much fun. They were like, oh, we had such a great day. Now, of course, ask me again in 3 months whether or not that's still the case.
Let's just call it Marco Polo. I'm sorry. I am so sorry, guys. You guys, I'm getting slap happy. You know, the devil came down to Georgia. Look at the many faces of Jennifer Drake, or who is Jennifer Drake, or it just, wow, like, woo-wee. I mean, maybe Brian has to get some love in this. Like, who really killed Brian Drake? 2 chiropractors, 1 cup. I mean, what do you think?
We have 360 on his phone. He never goes to stores unless it's to get gas. And even at that time, he was literally just going there and back. Oh, that was the time. Actually, I don't even know that he was driving.
The stories of Jennifer Drake.
I think I was still taking him because it was dark at night and stuff. Anyway, the whole thing was that I couldn't fathom how he was getting it. He was like, yeah, I asked one of them and they went ahead and got me one. So
would you guys watch this trial if it was streamed? Would you guys watch this? If I was able to get this streamed, would you guys come and watch this case? Like, you guys would not be able to not watch this.
So I'm so mad about this.
These are these same Idaho 4 detectives, like Tolson. They wanted his training records. Absolutely. Almost sucked my lifesaver down. Almost sucked my lifesaver hole down my throat. 2 chiropractors, 1 cup. Oh, I love it. Anybody say no? Like, who wouldn't watch this on repeat as long as you can keep her quiet? Well, she's the plaintiff, so she'll have to sit there, but she does she wants her day in court, man. She knows that she's like, they can say whatever. None of this is true. None of this is true. None of this is true. What are you talking about? You think I'm just making this up? You think I just put this together, this video here? You think I edited this to make it seem like she's on crack cocaine? All right. Oh my God, Lana, it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. I know. Happy Thanksgiving. I would watch a true crime documentary about this case. All the dirty deets. Well, because you guys, there's just so much. I just have to wait. I have to wait until after the trial, and I will fucking spill it all. Okay. This is.
And I'm trying in everything not to be mad. I am trying to I am keeping my cool. I'm like asking questions. Tell me about this. This is after all of this, and I kind of fall apart. And they know the story of Andrew. They know Andrew's story. And this is not out of ignorance, because we've talked about drugs so many times. We've talked about, what do you do when this happens, et cetera, et cetera. What do you do when somebody offers it to you? Even the first time he had told us, what do you do? How do you be proactive about this rather than being in a place of peer pressure? And Brenner's always been our kid that, like how he just taught, he's got so much biblical knowledge. He loves Jesus with all his heart. This is like something that is the farthest thing that we could have ever thought. So Hudson comes in. He's like,
don't you think addicts could love Jesus? I'm just saying. Does she make it seem like addicts can't love Jesus? How bad does this woman hate addiction? That's why she hated Brian, because Brian had all these addictions and she didn't see it as a disease. She saw it as like, it's an excuse for you to just go out and do whatever the fuck you want.
Like, dude, get rid of it. He's like, I will. I totally will. Well, I don't know if it was the same day or the next day. Brenner was gone. He was somewhere in the house. I don't know. And the reason I know this was probably around November is because October, November. because we were late in getting all of our leaves up, and we were raking leaves, and we had tons of bags of leaves outside, and half of them were open because we weren't done with them. Well, Hudson, behind Brenner's back, went into his room, dug through his stuff, grabbed his vaping thing and all of his drugs.
Okay, I stopped her, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining. Jennifer Drake, happy Thanksgiving. I know that you think that your husband was killed and you didn't have anything to do with it. If that is true, if you feel that in hearts of hearts, I'm telling you, if there's anybody out there, Jennifer, that could help you prove that you had nothing to do with your husband's murder, then I believe that Eldora Gatchell and her family acted without you. And she acted with the police, okay? And that somehow we're just going to have to explain how your cell phone just didn't hit, like, let's get the towers. Let's see if maybe the towers caught your cell phone call to Hayden for the 911 call. I'm just trying to look at this every which way to say, okay, did Brian get himself cut up into some shit out there in Bonner's Ferry? And here, like, they were just playing Jennifer as well. But when you said that you talked to Brian from 7:17 until 7:26, I think that you would know his voice. And it wouldn't have been him that whole time. Because he wasn't alive then. And I just think that you know that. And you got caught. And Eldora caught you guys because she's such a fucking moron. She inserted herself. She said too much. You didn't really help yourself either, though. But I couldn't think of a better person that you would want to reach out to and be like, hey, yeah, like, you're on it. Holy shit. You just showed me that these fucking cops didn't, like, they were right there. Why didn't they go there? Like, why aren't I using that body cam and all the body cam that you've shown to show that they didn't even go to his office and they let him bleed the fuck out? You can prove that the cops were negligent. And I can prove and show you that Brian Drake was getting gear and steroids into his car from dealers, and they couldn't provide him with his drugs at certain times because the cops were standing next to his vehicle. Caleb Watts, who's a detective with the Boundary County Sheriff's Department, was one of his patients. Brian Drake was driving out to the cartel to give them massages. Jen, I got you, girl. I got you. I'm going to need a little cut of that $1 million, though. I'll just take 10%, baby. We'll sell a great story. We will call it The Hurdles of Jennifer Drake. Good night, guys. Love you guys so much. Peace out. Peace out. Peace out. Peace out. Jennifer Drake, over and out.
I would just always, everybody's okay. And he has never.
As far as him, a person not getting the result that they wanted, or thinking they paid for a service they didn't really get, or
I would find out about something, he would always answer it completely fully. I did never feel like he was ever not telling me something.
Brian Drake's phone would tell a completely different story. On March 10th, 2020, at 7:55 p.m., just 48 hours before Brian's murder, Brian's phone had left him 16 notifications with timestamps and pictures per notification. The notifications were through the app called Hidden Eye. This app caught Jennifer Drake attempting to enter into Brian's phone 5 different times back to back with incorrect pass codes.
Again, special shout out, Starboy Glows. Great work as always, Lana. Thanks for all the work you do in cases. Have a great Thanksgiving. DMC, aka Lady Di, 10 to the Transparency memberships. Jen, love your face. 5, Truth and Transparency membership. If you return green because of Jen or Lady Di, make sure that you let them know. And then Jen kicking us off tonight with Happy Thanksgiving, Lana. She is freaking nuts. Not referring to me. She is referring to Jennifer Drake. Much love back to you guys. Get your vape on. Get your vape
The Idaho
on.
State Police have this information and have had this information, and yet they continue.
Rest in
to put
peace,
out a
Brian, man.
narrative
Happy Thanksgiving, bud. We would
that
definitely have
Dr.
been
Danny
friends.
Moore is the one that killed Dr. Brian Drake, when really the obvious suspect was right in front of their face the whole entire time. The Idaho State Police, Bonners Police, and Boundary County Sheriffs never considered Jennifer Drake a person of interest or a suspect.